Hello everyone, my name is Angelo B. Isplana.
I'm Angela Denise Opalam.
I'm Jermaine Madrid.
I'm Nesh Marlena Viva Chica.
I am Reginald Haboli Garcera.
I'm Tyra Nates Delmises.
I'm Tyro Finex Calamera.
I'm Christy Maria Castro. I'm Helena May Placido.
I am Alan Paul Laymancher Master Jr.
And we are Aves!
Hi! Today we're going to dissect a frog. A frog? A frog? Yes, a frog. But before we dissect, let's talk first. What is dissection? Dissection is dismembering of the body of a deceased animal or plant to study its anatomical structure. Or simply, dissection is the process of cutting apart or separating tissue, as for example in the study of anatomy or in the course of surgical structure. Now, let's talk about the background information of the frog that we are going to dissect. Frogs belong to the class Amphibia. Amphibians have adaptations for living in terrestrial as well as aquatic environments. Frogs are among the most commonly studied organisms in biology. Although many differences exist between humans and frogs, the basic body plans are similar. Humans and frogs both belong to the phylum Chordata. By studying the anatomy of a frog, we will be better able to understand our own body. In this lab activity, we will examine the external features of the frog and identify parts of its external anatomy. In addition, we will dissect a frog and to observe its internal anatomy. This is the purpose of this lab activity.
The purpose of this lab activity is to help us learn the anatomy of a frog and give us a better understanding of the anatomy of vertebrate animals in general. After completing this lab activity, we should be able to, firstly, correctly identify the locations involved in the dissection procedure, and secondly, correctly identifying locations of major organs within the body cavity of a frog.
These are the materials that we're going to use in this lab activity. The materials that we are going to use in this lab activity are the following. Preserved frog, but in this lab activity, most of us use a fresh frog. Dissecting pan or dissecting tray with paper towels, scalpels, forceps, scissors, dissecting pins, dissecting probes or dissecting needle, marking pen, and of course, a video camera that we're going to use to record this lab activity. But of course, before we're going to dissect, we need first to protect ourselves from specific hazards and hazardous materials. So we're going to use gloves, face masks, safety goggles, and a lab apron or lab coat or any personal protective equipment if possible. Now, let us describe and explore the external anatomy of a frog. This is the head of a frog, the uppermost part of a frog. The head of a frog is triangular in shape with a blunt snout. And this is the trunk of the frog, which is a central part of a frog, to which are attached the head and the limbs. If we study the frog's skin, we can feel that it is smooth and slim skin, while this ugly and poor toad has dry and bumpy skin. Frog has permeable skin layer covered with mucous glands. If we say permeable skin, it allows water in and out of the body of a frog. That's why their special skin allows them to breathe through their skin in addition to using their lungs. They are vulnerable to water loss through the skin in dry conditions, which is why they need to live near water or in moist environments. When the frog is out of the water, mucus glands in the skin keep the frog moist, which helps absorb dissolved oxygen from the air. Frogs has also glands that release toxins for protection against predators, and frogs have a camouflage color and pattern to hide them from predators. Frog has two front legs and two hind legs. The forelimbs or the front legs are used to support the front part of the frog's body while jumping or while at rest. This also helps to control the movement direction of the frogs while swimming or jumping. Each forelimbs comprises of an upper arm, a forearm, wrist, and hand with 4 digits and vertebral thumb. Each hind leg of a frog comprises of an upper thigh, lower leg, ankle, and long foot with narrow sole. Frogs use their hind legs mostly to propel themselves through the water while swimming, and use to jump high to easily escape to its predator and also to catch prey. The long foot with the narrow sole has 5 digits connected by broad, thin webs of the skin which help the frog in swimming. We can determine the frog's sex by looking at the hand digits or fingers on its forelegs of a frog. A male frog usually has thick pads on its thumbs, which is one external difference between the sexes as you can see on your screen. The male frogs are also usually smaller than female frogs. Additionally, the sex of the few species of frog can be identified by the size of their tympanum. You can see on the screen the letter B that the male frog has significantly larger tympanum than female frog, the letter A on your screen. Head external anatomy of a frog. This is the eye of the frog. Frog's eye positioned atop the head give frogs a field of vision of almost 180 degrees. This peripheral vision helps them spot predators and prey. We can notice that the frog's eye is covered by lower semi-transparent eyelid. This transparent eyelid is what we call the nictitating membrane that covers the frog's eyes. Frogs' nictitating membranes provide a protective layer over their eyes, letting the breeze bounce off harmlessly as the frogs swim underwater. The membranes keep the water out of their eyes, letting them watch where they were going while keeping their eyes protected. This is the external nares of the frog. External nares are located on the top of the frog's note and look like small slits. This makes it possible for the frog to float on the surface of the water, leaving external nares above the water level for inhaling oxygen. This is the tympanic membrane of a frog. A frog's tympanic membrane or tympanum is a circular patch of skin directly behind its eye that we are commonly called its eardrum. It functions much like our eardrum does. The tympanum transmits sound waves to the middle and inner ear, allowing a frog to hear both in the air and below the water. In addition, this membrane serves to keep water and debris from entering a frog's ears. This is the cloacal opening of a frog. The opening of cloaca through which undigested food, urine, eggs, and sperm are passed. Let us explore and describe the mouth anatomy of a frog. This is the mouth of the frog. We need to use a forceps to help us open the mouth of the frog. We can see now the frog's tongue. Unlike humans, frogs' tongues are connected at the front of the lower jaw rather than at the back of the throat. The frog tongue projects out of the mouth using the inertial projection mechanism. The jaw rapidly opens, the tongue rotates, and inertia of the tissue causes the tongue to project toward the prey. Frog's tongue has a super sticky saliva, trapping it in a place like glue. In addition, the frog tongue is attached to the front of the frog's mouth, allowing it to launch almost the entire tongue out of its mouth. It launches incredibly fast. A frog can shoot out its tongue, capture an insect, and pull it back into its mouth within 0.07 seconds, 5 times faster than a human eye can blink. Watch this slow motion clip how frog's tongue exactly work. The frog has two sets of teeth. This is the maxillary teeth, which is sharp teeth that are found around the edge of the mouth that function is holding captured prey. While this is the bomberine teeth of the frog, which is small projections in the top of the frog's mouth that function is holding and capture prey. Although frogs has a teeth, both are used for holding prey. Frogs swallow their meals whole and do not chew. We can see the internal ears of the frog here. Frogs' internal ears are located on the roof of the frog's mouth. They connected the nostrils to the mouth. Air is drawn into the internal ears from the external ears, then passing through the mouth through the trachea to the lungs. This is the esophagus of the frog. It is located at the center of the mouth. Toward the back is a single round opening. This tube leads to the stomach. The esophagus has no main function but to transport food. This is the glottis of the frog. The glottis is a slit-like opening on the floor of the pharynx, is a bulb that controls airflow in and out of the respiratory passages. The glottis opens directly into the box-like larynx. This voice box occurs in all amphibians but anatomically most complex in frogs. This is the eustachian tube opening. Close to the angles of the jaw are two openings, one on each side. They are used to equalize pressure in the inner ear while the frog is swimming. After examining the external and mouth anatomy of the frog, let us now examine and explore the internal anatomy of a frog. First, we need to place the frog in the dissecting pan or dissecting tray. The frog should be laying on its dorsal or back side with the belly facing up. Secondly, we need to pin the frog for dissection by securing each of the four limbs to the pan. So we need to place the pins through the hands and the feet of the frog to secure them to the pan. Now, so that we could have a guide before cutting the skin of the frog, we use marking pen to mark only the area of the frog that we will going to cut. So we need to mark from this frog's body part up to the neck. And of course, we need to mark a horizontal line and here between the front legs of the frog. Here above the rear legs. After this, let's begin the first skin incision. Once the legs of the frog are securely pinned to the dissection tray, let's begin the first skin incision by using the forceps to lift the skin midway between the rear frog, and using the scalpel to make a cut along the center or midline of the frog and dissecting it equally. So using the scissors, we need to cut all the way up the frog's body to the neck. Be very careful not to cut too deeply. Still using the scissors, we need to make horizontal incisions just above the rear legs and between the front legs of the frog following the line mark.
After finishing the skin incision between the front and rear legs of the frog, we need to separate the skin flaps from the muscle below. To do this, pick up the flap of the skin with the forceps and use a staple to help separate the skin from the muscle below. Once the skin flaps have been cut, we should now pin them to the dissection tray using several pins. Now let us begin the first muscle incisions. Since the skin are already pinned, let's begin the abdominal muscle incision by using the forceps to lift the muscle midway between the rear legs of the frog. Next, we use the scalpel to start the incision in the direction of the chin. Using the scissors, carefully continue the incision up the midline of the frog, but do not cut too deeply as to damage the organs. When our scissors reach the point just below the frog's neck, we need to have to cut far enough. Next, using the scissors, make a horizontal incision through the muscle between both the front legs and above the back legs to finish opening up the frog's body cavity, therefore exposing the abdominal region. We use the forceps to hold the muscle flaps with separating the muscle from the tissue below with the scalpel. Once the muscle flaps have been separated from the underlying tissue, then they must be pinned back. This will allow easy access to the frog's internal organs.
We can see the ovaries filled with eggs of a female frog. This is one of the internal evidence to determine the sexes of a frog. So this frog that we dissect is a female frog. We can notice that the ovaries filled with eggs of a female frog are attached to the dorsal body wall. So this is the liver of a frog.
The liver is the largest organ in the frog's body. It can be located under the muscle layer and just below the heart. The liver plays an important part in the digestion process of the frog, for it produces fluid which is called bile that helps break down food.
The liver composed of three lobes: the right lobe, the left anterior lobe, and the left posterior lobe. If we lift the lobes of the liver, we can see
the gallbladder of the frog, a small greenish sac which stores bile that is produced by the liver, then released into the small intestine via the common bile duct. The gallbladder of the frog is located tucked under the liver.
this is the heart of a frog. But before that, we notice a tissue that covers the heart. It is the peritoneum, a spider web-like membrane that covers many of the organs and most easily seen covering the heart. So we need to remove it so that we can easily see the heart. The heart is located at the top of the liver. The heart is triangular structure.
The heart of a frog is a dark red colored conical muscular organ situated mid-ventrally in the anterior part of the body cavity in between two lungs. The heart is enclosed in two membranes, an inner epicardium and outer pericardium. The heart of a frog has three chambers, one ventricle and two atria. The right atrium receives the oxygenated blood from the veins. Oxygenated and deoxygenated blood have the tendency to mix within the ventricle that is responsible for pumping the blood. Left atrium receives oxygenated blood from both the lungs and the skin. Frogs have three circuits for their circulation, unlike humans who only have two. Like humans, however, frogs also have a systemic circuit which pumps oxygenated blood throughout the body. Frogs also have a pulmocutaneous circuit where the oxygenated blood is transported to the skin to pick up oxygen and undergo gas exchange.
We can see here a spongy lungs of the frog, behind the liver and the heart. The right lung and the left lung.
A pair of thin-walled sacs connected to the mouth through an opening, the glottis. A surface area of the lungs is increased by inner partitions that are richly supplied with blood vessels. The lungs of the frog helps in supplying oxygen to the blood. The lungs of the frog is located in thoracic cavity.
This is the fat bodies of the frog that are located just on the inside of the abdominal wall.
The fat bodies in frogs are yellowish to orange in color. They have a finger-like or spaghetti-like shape. The fat bodies are needed for hibernating, metamorphosis, and for mating. These are areas in the body containing stored energy. The fat bodies of a frog are located at the anterior end of the gonads from which they develop embryologically.
This is the stomach of the frog curving from underneath the liver. The stomach is the first major site of chemical digestion.
The function of stomach stores the food and mix it with the enzymes to begin digestion. The description of stomachs: the anterior part is large and bored. It is called the cardiac stomach. Stomach is located underneath the liver of the frog.
This is the spleen of the frog.
The brown, bean-shaped organ found below the stomach of the frog is called the spleen. The major function of the spleen is to make, store, and destroy blood cells.
This is the small intestine of a frog, the principal organ of digestion and absorption of digested food. The duodenum is the interior front part of the small intestine into which food passes from the stomach. Leading from the stomach is the first straight portion of the small intestine is called the duodenum. The curled portion is the ileum. The ileum is held together by the membrane called mesentery. As we follow the small intestine down, we'll widen into the large intestine. So this is the large intestine of the frog leads to the cloaca, which is the last stop before the solid waste, sperm, eggs and urine exit the frog's body.
Large intestine is the posterior organ of the digestive system which stores undigested food.
This is the cloaca of a frog.
The cloaca of the frog is a short, simple tube receiving at its inner end at the genital and urinary ducts, the rectum, and the allantoic bladder. It is the common exit chamber of the digestive, excretory, and reproductive systems.
This is the pancreas of a frog. This structure is located on the inside curve of the stomach. It is a gland that often falls apart during the processing process, so it may not be visible on your frog. These are the oviducts. Oviducts are where eggs are produced. Males can have structures that look similar but serve no actual purpose. In males, they are called vestigial oviducts. This is the urinary bladder of a frog that attached to the ventral wall of the cloaca, the organ that collects and stores urine until release. The amphibian urinary bladder is a bilobate, highly distensible and vascularized sac that stores fluid for the use during periods of water stress. These are the kidneys of a frog.
The kidneys are organs that excrete urine. Connected to each kidney is a ureter, a tube through which urine passes into the urinary bladder. A sac that stores urine until it passes out of the body through the cloaca. Kidneys are bean-shaped organs located at the lower back of the frog near the spine. They are often a dark color. The kidneys filter waste from the blood. Often, the top of the kidney have yellowish string fat bodies attached.
These are the testes of a male frog. These organs are located at the top of the kidneys. They are pale colored and roundish.
These are the respiratory organs of the frog. The respiratory tract, including external nostrils, internal nostrils, and glottis, and the lungs of a frog. The circulatory system of a frog. The frog's circulatory system consists of the heart, arterial system, and the venous system, the blood, and the lymphatic system. The digestive system of the frog consists of the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, the cloaca, the anus, the pancreas, and including the liver, the gallbladder, the spleen, and fat bodies that helps for digestion. The urogenital system of the frog. The urinary system consists of the frog's kidneys, the ureters, the gallbladder, and the cloaca of a frog. The male anatomy of a frog, including the testes and the fat bodies. The female anatomy of a frog, including the ovaries and the oviducts.